Okay, call the meeting to order for the Historic Commission on April 17th, 2024. So can I get a motion to accept that?
I make a motion to set the agenda.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, and we any opposed? Agenda approved. Can I get an approval of the minutes?
Second.
Second.
Have a move of approval in a second. All in favor? Opposed? And approved. Okay. 312 South Main Street. You want to come on forward. This is a continuation of the last meeting into refurbish some rotten sidings and whatnot. So let's go ahead and start from the beginning again. Like, just say your names, your address, and what we're doing again, and then if there are questions or whatnot.
Bertie Wellman and Susan Wellman, 312 South Main Street, replacing siding after the formstone fell earlier this year with vinyl siding as the formstone is no longer available.
All right, commissioners, so anyone want to start at either side or any way? Laura, you want to?
I mean, I've been thinking about this all week. You know, I have sympathy because I know you guys are in a situation. I know you've already bought the siding, but it's a historic house on Main Street, and we have to make sure that we make the right decision. Just having vinyl siding in a historic district, it's a big deal. But the biggest thing is that whatever we decide today becomes a precedent going forward, which means that if you guys are allowed to have more than one type of siding that isn't really historically accurate for the age of the home, that means that people in the future can come and use that as an example. So that this is what's in my mind. I think that it blends fine, it looks fine, but you know, it doesn't fit the age of the house. It's piecemeal. And what would happen in the future if two sides of it fell off? What about the other two sides? And then how will you find siding to match? I just feel like it all needs to be done at once. So
With all due respect, I don't have the money to demo the entire house.
And we're not here to decide on any kind of, whether you can afford it or not. We're just deciding whether
We're setting a precedent.
we're setting a precedent. And we're responsible, you know, being on the Historic Commission isn't the easiest because it doesn't win friends. We have to just decide, you know, when we make a decision and people don't think it's right for the Historic Commission, then they come back and say, how could that have been passed by this commission?
And the guidelines too, Laura. I
And
mean, it isn't that.
I brought the
interject
guidelines.
this, you know,
And-
That's important because it isn't that it's just us personally saying,
It's not,
this and
because
that.
if
We
it
have
was-
guidelines to the mayor. We all had to stand in front of him and say that we are going to follow and do what the guidelines say in the district.
The guidelines say that that you identify, retain, and preserve materials and features from the restoration period. And it's when you remove existing features from older historic periods, most buildings represent continuing occupancies and change over time. But in restoration, the goal is to depict the building as it appeared at the most significant time in its history. Thus, work is included to remove or alter existing historic features that do not represent the restoration period. This could include features such as windows, entrances, and doors, roof dormers, or landscape features. Prior to altering or removing materials, features, spaces, and finishes that characterize other historical periods, they should be documented to guide future research and treatment. They're saying that when you take take off something that wasn't original, like the formstone, then what goes up should be something in keeping with the age that the house was built. This is a craftsman home. It could have originally had shingles,
I don't
cedar
know.
shakes.
I've been researching this for years because I knew this was going to come up.
Mhm.
I've talked with concrete people, masons, stonemasons. Brittany's got with her construction people. I've had multiple people looking at this. I've had Sean Widgeon look at it. There is nobody alive that does formstone anymore.
Oh, no, it can't be
It's
formstone.
obsolete, yeah.
And formstone was in the 1950s and 60s, and this home is much older than that.
Well,
So-
it wasn't originally formstone.
No.
It was put
So,
on.
so it can't be that because you can't rebuild it.
Right,
But what
but-
this is saying is you should replace it with something that was original that would have been at the time period that the house was built, which
Well,
could,
yeah.
which, because it's a craftsman, it could have been
Shaker shingles.
cedar shakes. So the fake shakes siding is something that could have been.
No, that's vinyl. So if it was
Yeah.
just, if it was
If it was
just
wooden, wood shake.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, as long as it mimics the way it looks, to me, a fake cedar shake
Is a
It's-
big cedar shake, yeah.
is passable because again, we've accepted vinyl
And from the
before.
street, it's not, but then it
Yeah.
looks.
The vinyl, the cedar shake look is something that would have been
Okay.
in the time that that house was built. I wouldn't pick that color because they usually had like dark brown or white but because you've already bought it, I would think that,
Well, I wouldn't
That
want to buy
color.
any more.
huh?
I was
wouldn't
just-
want to buy any more. Because what I'm concerned about, Susan, Brittany, looking at the house, originally when we talked, my understanding was that it was being compromised because moisture was getting between the formstone and the house.
Correct.
So if today, for example, you went and put it back, who's to say that the front doesn't start falling off 6 months from today? Because it was obviously all put on, I'm assuming, at the same era, the same time. And if it was on just one side of the house, like it looks here, the southeast, I'm looking at exposure
south
here to your
side.
neighbors, that's a huge part of the house. So if you did this in the taupey tan, and then all of a sudden, under the front windows, we started seeing the erosion like we've had, which, because it was just one side of the house, I might think it was just one issue that made this happen. But because it's on the other sides of the house, it's telling me this is two different elements that aren't working together, and it's going to continue, and we can't have it look like a patchwork quilt. It's being sort of very blunt about that. And if we did siding like this today, and the way the world is today with shipping, you might come in 6 months and want to get some more, and they don't have the color anymore. Because that is exactly how building supplies are getting to be. And then you have two different color sidings. I don't know if that's making any sense about what we're looking at from our perspective. And my big concern is it came off on two sides of the house, so it wasn't just one leak in the roof that created this one problem. It's a problem with the formstone, and it wasn't tieback back in the day, plywood, whatever, in the 50s they used before they attached it. Because look what happened to Range Reef. That was sort of the reason they had to go in. Then they
That's what I
found
was
out.
going to say, Range Street
Really?
and Fathom. He took
Yeah,
it all
right, and then they had to
down.
repoint all the bricks, because the bricks were so sandy that they actually, when that came off, they had to go in and start another hole before they started over again. So it's complex, but I'm at this end of the table, I let other people speak. I just had to say that I agree with what Laura was saying, and reading what you did, I think clarifies for them, and it's so important, I think, to all of us, that you realize this isn't personal, other than what our obligation is to the mayor and the town historic district, what our charge is to do.
John?
I agree with Laura, and I was just looking at this picture, the formstone and the cedar doesn't go together. Then I'm looking down at the foundation of the house where the formstone is, there's brick, also exposed. So I don't have any problem at all with the cedar, with your cedar shingles whatsoever. But I'd like to see the whole house redone, because it just doesn't work. And then
But that,
the
I mean,
formstone
building
needs,
it's not an option. So I'm here to find out tonight because I've got stone exposed. And I'm in the rainy season, and something's got to go up. So I'm here tonight something's got to get accomplished, because that form stone is like a sponge, and it's just going to soak up moisture. And I'm trying to secure the house, and so,
It's going to have to be the whole house in order to secure the house in whatever you started with already, because as I just said, if you wait 6 months, 3 months, and we start going again, you're going to have just a piecemeal. And whenever you put siding together, it never really looks right. It looks, there's always a gap, it doesn't give you, the house is way too nice to ruin it in this way. And how you all decide, I mean, I will say exactly what someone said to a friend of mine once when they were talking about the same thing you're saying, they said, we sell cars, the bank lends money. And certainly with your name, Susan, and with your family name, and as long as you've been here, I don't think that would ever be an issue somewhere to do this right. You don't want to take the value of this house down, for heaven's sake.
It's a beautiful house, and it's such a cool, I mean, it would look beautiful if you did it all.
but if you're asking me to do that, I don't have the money to do that.
Well, we don't
So
have the
that-
money
that's-
either, so.
That's not a solution for me tonight.
What's the plan where the brick is exposed on the foundation, where the form stone is? Were you going to take all of that form stone off of that part of the foundation?
No, we
Not
would
at
leave
this
that
point.
at Cornerstone.
Because you can see the brick at the bottom here. So that's kind of like 3 different looks.
Already the patchwork quilt, which is what I said I don't want to see.
Yeah.
Well, I will say I will be 76 years old next month, so I grew up in the 50s here. And I've been by and I've been by that house 3 or 4 times since you were here. And I looked at it before you came the other time. It's always had that form stone on it in my memory. And that's a long time for that to be on there. I kind of think that Mary has a good point, that if you've got 2 sides, it's probably all compromised. Maybe it's not all going to come off right now. But I know what Mike went through at Rains Reed, and when he went to do Fathom, the property owner that sold him that building told him he felt like there was no issue with, water coming down, but once they got in there was. And I believe from what was up there, it's similar to what was at your house. It's old, so I agree with Mary. You're gonna have another issue.
It's going to, because it wasn't just one side of the house, like you'd say, well, that's the northwest, always gets the worst beating on a house. So you'll see the houses in town that get the mildew on it. It's usually the northwest side of the house, the damp, whatever, it doesn't get the sunlight. And my concern is, looking at, I'm calling the Worcester Prep side, or the side towards the highway, that's a lot, and I can only imagine that it isn't going to stop just because you put siding on the part that's been compromised. It's going to continue around the house, and your problem, I'm just saying, as someone who lives in an old house and knows these things as well, it's not going to get better, and I would hate for you to compromise your property value by doing something that you end up, and then when it comes to sell, or whatever you all do down the road, it's just not going to work out. Just my thoughts.
Brian, I'm interested in what you have.
Yeah, we're purple. First, that color looks a lot different than what you have on your drawings.
I know, well, I made a point to say that was just a,
Yeah,
We were just
Photoshop.
trying to get it to match, blend, like, so it would not stick out.
Right.
I mean, if you put it up to the side by the corner, if you're on the street, it blends. You know what I mean? We didn't want anything that was gonna stick out. Color-wise.
Well, my vote would have to do with Laura and Mary because of the code that we have to go on. That's, and I left it home, but I do go over it again this afternoon. And It's in the historic district, it's on South Main, coming into town.
And we are the Historic District Commission, and our charge from the mayor is to follow the guidelines, the bylines, and to keep our personal opinions about people that we know and like and things like that, that we have to adhere to bylaw, what we agree to. At least that's my totally, and as I said, I'm concerned that it was just one side of the house, I probably could say, okay. But the fact that we've got this little cherry picking stuff going on, you've got a problem, Susan. It's not going to get better.
Yeah, you're gonna, eventually it's all gonna come off, then what are you gonna do? And
I would have to cross that bridge when I got to it. I don't have the money to demo that entire house. That's just the
That's a
fact.
hard thing too for us to say to you, because that isn't any, our concern is just what we said here today. And we can't, we don't have any leverage as far as how people choose. We've had a lot of people come in front of us, and this is what they're going to do, and what it turns out to be is nowhere close to what they said, and it hasn't been enforced the way it should have been at times. So I think that, as we said, this is a precedent, and I don't know if someone else feels that they need to
Is there an
speak.
option not to demo and to seal?
Did not demo more form stone?
My house has form stone.
Okay,
Above that form stone is vinyl siding. It's covered, it's sealed, it's not demoed, they didn't take it off, they covered it up. And I was just wondering if that was an option for you.
I'm not sure, I did not have the whole house priced for siding, to the siding the whole house. He just came and priced the sections that were demoed, so I'm not sure.
Well, I guess it's really like going back to the table, the two of you discussing, getting other contractors come in and give you ideas and what kind of payment plans or whatever they could do to make it right. As I said, you don't want to destroy a nice craftsman home. Whatever happens, and we never know tomorrow. Dave isn't here tonight, so we never know tomorrow what our life's going to bring us. And you don't want to take a chance of taking something of substantial value and making it not very valuable to look like a patchwork quilt,
What,
in my
Hey,
opinion.
Brian, can you expound what you were saying?
I mean, I can't tell you who worked on my house, but when I bought it, it had vinyl siding on it. When I did further inspection or work on the house, I found that there's form stone underneath the house.
yeah, it was when I was a
Form stone
kid.
underneath the siding of the house.
So it's just covered up.
Cover the
Yeah,
form
just
stone
like
up.
that. I don't know how that would work with this house, or if it was an option or not, but it might be a less expensive option if you could not afford to demo the entire thing.
I'm curious, what year was your house born? Built, Brian.
Yeah, you should know that, I took it all the way back to the
It's a good question.
1800s.
It's like, I believe the 1860s.
So it was Clapper probably originally, and then the sales came through town.
It was Dr., well, you probably weren't here, that was Dr. Shantz.
Oh, I know,
Dr.
is that where you
Zoll.
live?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
knew Dr. Shaw.
yeah, that's where Grandma used to take
Yeah,
Grandma
it's
to the
nice.
car
that
wash.
you went there. I don't remember it having form.
So-
Oh, we did when I was little.
Oh, I'm with you.
I like Brian's idea,
Yeah,
possibility.
Mhm.
Maybe that is.
But if it, let's say there's pieces that aren't very secure, then you've got it falling off behind the siding, and
you
then
need
I
a good
have a
contractor
really
to
big
help you
problem.
out, Susan. I think
Who,
you need a good
who are you,
contractor.
who are you working with if you don't
Who's your
mind me
contractor
asking?
now?
shore siding.
Sure.
So it's just people who sell the siding, they're not really contractors that have a broad spectrum knowledge of things on
Install.
homes.
Yeah,
Okay.
install.
Pine Island,
I mean, Mike does have I just did not tell him that we had the budget to do the whole house, because we don't. So, I mean, I could bring him back and see about re-siding on top of the form stone and see how that goes from there.
Well,
That was just not an option I had talked about, so I do think he's knowledgeable in that. That was just not an option I knew about
Yeah,
at the time.
well, if you say you've got more that's coming loose, then, you know, there is. gonna
yeah, I
be
said
more.
if I did,
Uh-huh.
then it would be falling behind, and how would you know? It, to me, it would, you know what I mean? How do you know what's behind it?
I
Yeah,
wasn't,
now.
I didn't own my home when they did it, so I couldn't tell you.
My house is form stone as well. and
But yours is much later,
It-
probably the
it's sort of like a-
70s.
It's
Craftsman, similar to that era,
like,
the 30s, 1930s.
But that was Joe Cicio's from,
Yeah, right.
and that's what's not that, Forstone did not go on that house this early. Entirely
No,
different
it was-
kind
it was-
of-
all right, so let's go back to here, so Is there any other questions? Anybody
There's a
got?
public comment that was.
Public comment.
sent in.
I'd just be curious to see if you could possibly decide over.
Yeah, and I will talk to Mike about that. I just didn't,
That might be a
wasn't
solution.
aware that that was an option, or nor did I discuss that with him.
I can pretty assure you it's not in my budget. I mean, I only work part-time. I don't have the money to sign the insurance. This is a stretch for all this that I have done.
Owning a home is like a child.
Okay, to the Historic Commission, Historic District Commission, please note that as the commission has approved the application of 105 South Main Street, there is no reason why the application for 312 South Main Street should be denied. I live next door and I saw the samples and how it would look. I have no objection. I'm sure that the commissioners will stand unanimous in favor of the applicant. So he's saying 105 South Main Street.
That's the bungalow across from me.
Right,
And
I
they're
got
not
the
at all
chart right here.
similar.
Oh,
What
the
it
Murphy's
was.
old home. No, am I talking about the
Yeah,
Murphy's old
The
home?
Craftsman where they took.
Yes.
Walter Murphy's
Yes.
house. Okay, Walter Murphy's and Anna Murphy's house from Washington Street.
What's that anything to do with Formstead, that house?
No.
They took that
They
old.
renovated that whole thing.
They did the whole, they
They
added
took the
on
old-
and
all-
that
all
was a
that
very
old
different,
porch.
Well,
Absolutely.
and they did the whole house.
they did the whole house. It wasn't just like the front porch or the side towards town or something. They added on in the back like a, guess, additional living and.
It actually looks more historic, the way it sits now finished, than it does in this picture right here. So,
Although I don't think we approved the dark brown paint.
No, we did not. Not appropriate for that house.
We always go in any forms of any motion, doesn't unless they want to carry on. We need to, so you guys,
Do you want to see with your contractor and your siding person, take the time or whatever to see if it could be done like at Brian's home, and we have another meeting, or do you want to vote? Because
No,
if we vote,
Yeah.
no, okay? And I think that's what will happen.
Mhm.
You cannot come back to our board.
Yeah, no, I'll obviously
For a
have to talk
year.
to Mike, yeah.
I think that, I mean, we're willing to come back and meet
Absolutely.
with you. We want to get this done right.
I'm just hoping no more damage is being done. I mean, this has been sitting here, and in all honesty, back in end of February, beginning of March, when we were trying to get on the schedule, we ended up having to talk to Dave Engelhardt, and he gave us permission and told us, you need to secure your house, do what you have to do, and come to the April meeting and show us what you did. And he says, but hold on, let me get in touch with somebody from the historic committee. Now, I don't know if he did get in touch with anybody, but he called us back and he said, do what you have to do.
To secure it.
Because
so that-
we explained to him the three parts and putting siding on. And he told us to go ahead. I wouldn't have signed contracts and bought materials and paid for them had I not. I mean, I wasn't here to circumvent the process.
Oh, I know you.
So
were doing that. Okay, no,
I did in good faith what I thought we could do.
Well, I appreciate that, Susan, because I had never heard any of that.
Yeah, I hadn't even heard you.
Well,
were
I just think
you
that there
can't
was a
even-
misunderstanding. I think by secure, maybe he meant plastic Tyvek it and just
No, okay.
Because that, the
We told
first
him
thing we
science.
asked last meeting was it waterproofed or sealed so we could continue this process? We don't want any more further damage, so we wanted to make sure.
Well, it's Tyvek, but the edges are still, of the stone are still exposed. so.
form
Can
stone,
we,
I've got you up.
can we approve it if it was fully the whole house?
Yeah, she's not gonna be, she's gonna have, I don't think they want to, they don't want us to make a decision.
If I said we could reside the whole house, could we approve it and move on? if that was the case.
What, everything come off, everything?
Or just
off?
re-side on
or
top like
over.
Brian had, yeah.
There would have to be everything, that front porch and all that coming out in the yard.
If that
all
was
that
an
kind of
option,
thing.
would we be okay?
Well, the one thing I would like to say, just about the siding, to me, just to be able to have vinyl siding in an historic district, that's lenient, and we are willing to do that.
Okay, then that's what I would hope, yeah.
But what I'd like to say is, even though I think the color isn't like what it should have been, we're still willing to accept that because you've already bought it and we want to work with you. The thing that I would like to see is, I'd like to see the detail, not now, but I'd like detail where it looks like an old cedar shake house, where the corners don't have white AZAC, because that makes it look like a new home that's built, in just a,
Takes away from the era.
it would have to look like the era that it, and all that would take is the corners that they sell for that, to make it look like, and I gave you the
Yeah,
papers.
and I did talk with Mike, and he was like, they're special order and they're, pretty expensive. So even if there were small, like AZAC corners that were painted to match the siding, that wouldn't be acceptable?
I guess if it was painted to match the.
Painted to match, would match 100%.
Yeah.
There'd be no white
Yeah.
trim on the house,
That'd be-
obviously, yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so because
But
that.
painted the same color as the big body of the siding.
Absolutely.
Like this picture here.
Yeah.
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 Did you ever consider this color and this look of the shingles? It's in this picture.
What
I
do you
think that
mean?
was supposed to mimic
That-
what they already.
Yeah,
chose.
that was just
Computer
a computer rendering I had someone.
That's
I worked
very
with.
attractive. That's very attractive. It's very period looking.
So that's a natural clay, it is color matched,
Yeah.
that is the siding from Certainty that we
So
got.
that's sort of like an eggshell.
That he superimposed.
More of a contemporary color. I'd say that's, So does it get darker like natural shingles do with age, or does it just stay that color?
Yeah, it
It
shouldn't
shouldn't
just.
fade or anything, because it's certainty. or
Like,
whatever.
when you put the real shake shingles up, they come out almost blonde and then they
No.
darken as
Yeah,
they
this
age.
won't- this won't
Because
change
this
like
is
that.
synthetic.
Well, I don't have any problem with color that she chose, really.
Yeah.
I
I mean, they could
don't-
paint it any color.
I don't have a.
I mean, they could have over the years. As long as, I think, I'm bothered by the white corners, but.
So am I,
that's-
trust me, that would not
That's
happen,
good.
I agree with that.
I would vote for
wholeheartedly.
it then to pass with.
Yeah, if you're working with somebody that's knows.
Oh, yeah, and like we do it all the time where Sherwin-Williams, like, they have the Certainty colors
Exactly.
in their book and they just color match it right to the siding and paint the AZAC and call it a day.
So would we need to see the front, like the columns would be white, wouldn't they, or, I don't know.
I
or
honestly,
off-white, like-
I don't know what the columns would be if he could just wrap them, probably wrap them in AZAC and paint them to match the siding, would probably be the best route.
I'd like to see a picture of that, I mean,
Do you know what year the house was built? Because I can
I'm thinking
figure it out. I didn't have time
Yeah,
to.
2730s, 1930s, that era, period of that
Why, we
style.
got, if she's coming back, we've got time to talk about those columns. Let me see if I can
yeah.
find something that was, remember when Mr. Davis, were renovating and they wanted a special column and we didn't really, but it wasn't. And then they called the next day and said, you were right, what you said is what we need, and that's what they put on, it looks good.
And then they went back to the square, I don't think the square looks fine.
Is there any way we can make a motion to approve the siding and then
Come back.
come back with columns?
I would. Ernie, what do you think?
That's fine. You can have an approval of the siding
Yeah.
color and.
And let them do the siding and then come back with the trim work,
Yeah.
the trim.
That would be
front.
wonderful if we can.
Let's do
If
that.
I
You know,
And if you're doing the whole house, maybe they'll give you a better price and work with the.
I could probably, if we're not demoing, I could probably work something out payment plan wise with my.
Yeah, I think if you
Okay.
give them, if you approach it that way, I'm considering, but you've got to give me a better price for this. That
No,
kind of
yeah, and,
language.
I mean,
Yeah.
if that's,
How about the foundation? When I look at that with the form stone down underneath,
Where the bricks
just where the
shown.
brick is that possible to get, is your foundation good underneath that form?
the foundation is
Yes.
great. We have
Yes.
my framer, when he reframed all of the, like rotten siding, he went in the basement and checked out all the framing in the foundation and said the foundation was actually in great, perfect
You know, I
condition.
don't find that objectionable of the era because it's of the two eras of the house when it was built and then when the salesman came through and.
That's exactly
and
what
everybody-
my,
So it gives it more of a bit of character of what was there
Yeah.
before, so I don't object certainly to that.
I mean, they do make sheets that, like they wrap chimneys with, and they could slap it on a wall inside your house. I mean, I could
Well, if
probably.
if it looks bad, they can always paint that too.
Mhm.
I
I
mean,
could-
you
yeah, but my painter, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I.
can put it up and see how it looks.
Well, I think that right now, we don't really need to worry too much about the foundation area. If we can get you the siding, everything, and then, you think, in my mind, it's the most important, because they need that.
Continuity of the building.
Yeah.
Continuity. is great, so.
I'm with you, Mary. I think the color they've chosen, once it's everywhere, you're not gonna notice that.
No, and I
when
don't
you
object-
ride by, you're not gonna be
No.
looking down, you're gonna be, yeah.
And I don't object to the form zone as a,
A nod to it.
Yeah.
it sort of gives it a little punch of interest too, in another era, because you let it appear you want to.
And if you decide a couple of years from now that you wanna,
Do whatever. Yeah.
All right, did someone want to make a motion?
Carol, you're a good motion.
Yeah.
Laura,
She
you want to make a
the
motion?
details she must sit to hands.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the new siding on case number. Where's the case number?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't see it on here.
I guess it'd be 417, 417,
Oh.
23, would that be the new number?
Case number 432405.
Okay.
We would like to approve the siding on the whole house, leaving the foundation as is, and approving the front detail work, moldings, columns, columns. The porch area, we'd like to continue that, a continuance on the front.
So basically, your motion is strictly to the siding.
Yes, we're approving the siding in the cedar, the fake cedar shape, or what, cedar impressions. I keep saying that, but, because I like it. The
Okay.
cedar impression siding.
We have a motion on the floor, we have a second,
I'll second.
and a second, and all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. So we are, as it stands, go ahead, get back to us, let us know where you stand on that. It can be tomorrow, next day, however soon you do it, and we're willing to get to work on it right away. Brian, you're going to text, we still text you? Sure. Email you, whatever? We'll don't call from her. All right, well, thank you, girls.
Thank you.
That makes things a little better.
Okay. Somebody else in the public? Anyone from the public, you have anything else to say? Nothing? Staff, anything?
How's Dave doing?
I can say I did reach out to Mr. Benito about the trailer for you guys. I haven't heard anything back. But I left a message on the phone asking him to remove the trailer from the front yard.
Okay.
I did reach out to Reggie Mariner. I did see him in the office today, but it was for something else. But I was asking about the siding off of this
Mr.
house.
Cousins, what do you
Like I said, I
say?
haven't talked to him about that. I left a message on his phone. So.
Carolyn, you are not a procrastinator. Hats off to Carolyn.
Well, I was trying to have you an answer,
Wow.
you know, so I was just trying to
It's
reach
a
out
short
to you.
notice.
And I went down Baker tonight from the grocery store, and I'm telling, every day, there's more junk laying on that old pickup. If
I haven't
somebody
gotten
can
him.
please go out. you're gonna probably, I don't even know who lives there.
You should go wear a protective armor.
I'd be scared to knock on the door. Don't go by, if you don't, you go by yourself. I'm
Well,
serious.
somebody bought it. I pulled up it, the name and address from ASTAT, but
Somebody bought it recently?
from Mr. Allen.
They've had a long time. They've been there 4 or 5 years, I would think, at least.
So like
Yeah.
I said, I haven't had time to.
No, that's okay, that's okay, that's been there so long.
I'm sure you're busy.
Is that the other woodworking business in Berlin besides the one on Franklin Avenue?
Oh, where, that house.
The one on Baker is just a dump.
Is it by the railroad tracks? Have you ever seen how much lumber's back there? It's like
That's
another
what-
little
yeah.
Atkins company. Right, maybe it's gonna.
It's a fire hazard.
Yeah,
is what
it was a
is.
nice house, like, it's so, I don't know, it's like.
Oh,
a
that's an old
outside.
tent. I don't think it has heat. It doesn't have heat for it.
Commissioner,
That is
anything else to bring up in the?
The ghost sign on Pitt Street looks awesome.
I know, I'm just really excited about
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Really excited about it. I can't wait till we start on the other side.
Yeah.
Brian, that was a really nice suggestion you had for me. I didn't even think about that.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I don't have any comments to say. We get a motion for an adjournment.
Real quick, there was finally a picture of those
I
murals.
saw it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
As many times as I tried to stand up there and figure out what it said.
And that was from the 50s.
It's from the 50s.
That was 59, the picture was, and, I mean, I've been here since 65,
So
so.
if it was 59, I would have been like
Was it in a
11.
newspaper?
But
No,
I
it's an
guess
Easter picture.
I didn't remember.
Easter picture.
Yeah,
Someone
posting
Oh,
on
with their
Facebook.
Easter outfit or something.
In their Easter
They're really
outfit in
cool
front of
pictures.
the.
When
in
Danny
front of the-
graduated from Stephen Decatur in 57.
Yeah, but it was, but I don't, that wouldn't have faded when I was a kid, it would have
No,
still
wait a
been there.
minute.
Yeah.
You should remember
I
it.
don't.
It just didn't seem important.
I just don't remember it.
Yeah.
I can
But
remember
it
something
looks
up
super
there.
cool.
It does look cool. I saw it. I went to Taylor Bank yesterday, and that's the first thing I noticed.
But
It
artists is
stands out.
extremely talented.
You can tell I'm fast.
Yes, wow.
They
All
look
right.
great.
I'm
If,
sure they're,
Carolyn, if you or Mary, you know, see Dave or anything, we're all praying for him and thinking about him and you.
Oh my gosh, and Carolyn, she's cut her right in half and give her, move her in the back office and the front office, just move back and forth. Why am I going for a moment, that fellow that has Cheers, I was on chairman of planning and zoning, he said he went to the hospital today,
Good.
or he told you that, I
I'm
guess.
sorry, but can we not talk
Yeah.
about,
Uh,
just, we're
I
still
didn't
live.
realize-
Yeah, I
Okay,
just,
excellent, we forget.
Yeah.
I
Thank you
think
so much.
I think that
I make a motion to adjourn.
Yeah,
passed.
motion second.
Okay.
All in favor,
Thank you.
aye.
We forget why we're here, because it's just.
We are adjourned.
What were you gonna say, no, Mary?
Yeah, that's why I was cheating.